Hi, welcome to this week's Midweek Connection. My name is Todd Jordan. I serve as senior pastor here at Strawbridge United Methodist Church. I'm delighted that you've joined me. Something heartbreaking happened recently. A fifth grader that was that goes to the same school as my daughter passed away in a tragic car accident. And as a matter of fact, today, on the day that I'm recording this, Skylar and many of her classmates attended the funeral here in town to show support to the family. And something like this is just beyond words heartbreaking. But I do think it's important to remember that as Methodists, we know that this is not something that God causes or that God does. We know that God mourns with us and is there to comfort us. And as I was thinking about everything going on, of course, we're praying for that family and praying for our community and praying for the kids at Deerwood. I was reminded of a story that I heard years ago about a woman who lived in a small village, and she too suffered the loss of a young child and was really struggling with the grief and how to work through it. And so there was the wise one, the wise teacher that lived in the mountains just outside the village. And so she decided to make a visit there and explained to the teacher, what happened, and I'm really wrestling with the grief, and I just really need some help working through it. And the wise one said, I can help you, but I first need you to go bring me back a grain of salt from a home that has never known grief or loss. And so the woman thinks, okay, well, that should be pretty easy. So she goes back and she starts visiting her neighbors. And as she visits those who lived around her, she finds out things that she didn't know. Homes where there had been a disease that they did not know, a broken relationship, or some tragedy that had occurred. And she was unable to find a home that did not know grief, pain, or loss. And so she went from her block to the next block, and then all throughout her village, and had no luck. So she visited the neighboring village, and the village after that, and the village after that, and she was gone for over a year. And finally, she returned to the wise teacher and explained, I'm sorry, I cannot bring you a grain of salt from a home that knows no grief or pain because I never found one. But what she did find was an opportunity to listen and to share with those who understood grief, so that she was able to offer some healing to the homes that she visited with the grief that she brought, and they were able to help her work through hers. And she found that in the journey that she was not alone. She found support and meaning in the sharing and in the helping, and that helped with the healing. And the sort of lesson of the story is that when we grieve, when we're in pain, we're not alone. And if we share with others and we listen and we offer compassion to others who are grieving, and they offer it to us, we find healing. But as a Christian, I would take that one step further. And I would say, not only will she not find a grain of salt from any home here on earth, if she were to go to heaven and ask Jesus for a grain of salt, Jesus would have to tell her, I can't give you a grain of salt, for I too have known sorrow. In fact, in John 11, verse 35, it tells us that Jesus wept for his friend Lazarus who died. You see, through the Son of God, through Christ, God knows what it feels like to lose, to grieve, to suffer pain and loss of loved ones. He knows what it feels like to feel abandoned, even by God in the garden, praying for help. And he certainly knows the pain and the grief of the cross and of death. And to me, that is maybe one of the most powerful healing messages that can help us with the deepest heartbreak, that we have a God who can identify with our pain, because we have a God who is not too good, not too great, not too eternal, that he can't shed a tear for pain for another. Now, I know that may not mean much to someone who's suffered the loss of a young child, but maybe it helps. Whatever you've been through, if you're grieving or feeling pain or loss in your life, or if you've been there, rest assured that when you look to God, you are looking to one who feels your pain, who knows your pain, and who is offering you a peace that passes on all understanding to help us through the pain so we can come to healing and get to that place where we can get back to our life, even if we never forget the loss. So my prayers are for the family. My prayers are for all of our kids. My prayers are for everyone, anywhere, anytime, suffering grief and loss. And the word of encouragement is, God feels it, God knows it, God cares, and God hears the prayers that we lift up on behalf of ourselves and others who grieve along with us. May God bless you. May God grant you a gift of peace, and I look forward to seeing you in church this Sunday.